right now. It's Philly's world. We're just living in it, Russillo.
You're already
happening. It's all happening. We have a rejuvenated James Harden. His hammies are feeling great. His hand injury's good. He's sprinting. He's running. He's trying. Who knew? Who knew he had it in him?
Do you remember when Twan got traded back to the Celts?
I do.
And you remember, like, I remember because they got really sick of him towards the end there, and then he came back and he was like getting the ball immediately and trying to get it inbounds and push the pace. And it happened. It's kind of like getting back together with your ex where you're like, you know what? I am going to make sure I text you back immediately. And I'm going to do all these things at the very beginning. Now, look, Harden's a lot better than I am to date or Twan was as a basketball player. But I think it's going to be awesome in the regular season. And I still have a completely open mind about how good or bad it could be. I don't know.
Well, one question has been answered. Was James Harden getting old and was his body breaking down? And the answer is no. It's actually his body's fine. He looked pretty svelte. I think he's one of those guys, probably when he's bummed out, he might eat and drink more. And then as soon as it's ready to turn the switch back on, he can do a little juice cleanse or a little bone broth cleanse, whatever he's doing. And all of a sudden he looks lighter and more fit. But I thought he looked awesome today. I'm watching them going, all right, best case scenario in a playoff series, it's just fouls. And it's just, they're at 40 plus free throws. And I'm thinking about the Celtics going to get to the playoff series. And Time Lord's got 2 fouls in 3 minutes. And Marcus Smart has 4 fouls in the second quarter because Ime left him in one foul too long. And you're just like, oh my God, we have to play Peyton Pritchard now. And just like, there's very rarely been these teams that have these 2 10-plus free throw guys. And that was the part I had forgotten when they made this trade. I mean, the upside, whatever. But just the pressure when you have 2 guys that can get to the line like that. I was trying to think of other teams that had that. And remember like Durant and Westbrook, there was one year where both of them were near like 9 or 10 free throws together. And there were these certain games where you could just kind of feel it. So out of all the other stories that I was expecting, the free throws I was not expecting to think about.
Embiid's averaging 0.35 free throws per minute, which is the most in NBA history. Okay. It's the highest number in NBA history for a player in a season. So if he keeps it at that number, I'm happy for Daryl. I love, all the arguments we had about like what the value of Simmons was. I just kind of felt like things can change, and the Harden thing got really weird. I mean, I don't admire Harden for bailing on 2 teams, which I know we'll get to, in 13 months. That's kind of hard to do. And I just can't understand. Like, I have a hard time backing somebody who is okay with going out there and going like, I'm going to play bad on purpose to prove a point. Like, that bothers me. You know what I mean? That's why I love Giannis. And when we talk about the East, I think I probably am going to defer to personalities and all that stuff. But from a basketball standpoint in the regular season, like, it's unbelievable to have a guy like Harden now controlling the offense as opposed to Simmons, who is not an offensive threat once the ball is out of his hands. The other part of this too, I love, Bill, is Maxey, who I was just afraid, oh man, he's not going to touch the ball. He's immediately, and I think it kind of goes back to even his Kentucky days where he and Quickly would kind of shuffle the roles around. He's already, again, 2 games. It's the Knicks, who are terrible. Minnesota, that's actually going through like a little bit of a weird stretch. And Towns almost has no chance mentally against Embiid. I think as soon as he sees him, it's like, uh-oh. So that wasn't a great game for Minnesota the other night. But, none of this is surprising because it just has to be so much better for Embiid. But then I think about the playoffs and I think about, okay, what's Harden going to be like when the ball's out of his hands? Is he going to run around at all? Does he provide spacing? What's it going to be like when Embiid's getting doubled all the time? Maybe that leads back to the Harden thing. So it looks great right now. But I think I'm, probably just let's see what it looks like in the playoffs, because there's going to be nights too they're not going to get all those calls, despite how ridiculous this has been through 2 games.
The staggering with Embiid and Harden, you could feel that too, where there's just at every moment of the game, they have somebody awesome out there. And we knew that before the trade too. Look, Harden's better than Steph Curry, even if he's playing at the speed he was playing in Brooklyn. So from that standpoint, Simmons wasn't playing. And, it was always like, there was always a conception of them being a little bit better. But I think, man, if I was a Brooklyn fan, I think I would be so mad right now watching those 2 games and being like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you pushed your way to come here. You played hard last year and then you hurt your hammy, not your fault. And then this year you showed up out of shape. You were never really fully in shape. And then for a variety of reasons, you checked out on us. And that's what happened. We're watching today. It's like, what happened to his hammies? Are they fine now? What happened to his mysterious hand injury? It's fine now. but obviously he was doing whatever it was going to take to get out of there, but didn't want to just publicly do it because he didn't want to be branded as the guy who asked out of 2 teams in a year.
Which is exactly who he is. So I don't know. I mean,
Yes,
is anybody going, is anybody saying, actually, you guys are wrong about this? And it's funny too, because I'm with you. When I was watching his post game with Cassidy today, I was like, he looks skinny. Not skinny, but I'm like, am I nuts? Is it the color of the unit? Like, why does this look like he's in 2 weeks later, he was able to drop some weight? Maybe he's one of those guys. I don't know. He just looked better.
Can you do that? Can you drop like 4 or 5 pounds in a week?
I could
Because I can.
Yeah. I could drop 10 pounds in days if I wanted to. It's hard for me to keep weight on.
Yeah, I can just give up no lunches, just do like soup for lunch or juices or whatever, and then not eat after 7, and I will lose 5 pounds in like 6 days. So maybe Harden was just like, all right, no strip clubs for 2 weeks. I'm not going to order pizza at 2 a.m. anymore. Light salad for lunch and maybe a little more cardio, and just was immediately 10 pounds lighter. Like he looks totally different. He really does. The guy at the end of that Brooklyn run looked like he couldn't get up and down the court anymore. He was like the old guy in the pickup game.
That Sacramento game is one of the worst games I've ever seen from somebody who's like really good. It was, was so gross.
If you have NBA League Pass, you can go find it. It's on NBA League Pass. You can go backwards by date. You can watch that Sacramento game, and then you can watch the game today, and it's 2 different people.
When we start handicapping the East, and it's the top 6 teams are separated by 4.5 games. So who knows? And Brooklyn right now is an 8 seed, which, feels irrelevant because it sounds like Durant's a couple days away. So then that changes everything for them. When I start figuring out like, who do I like? I don't think I'm wrong for going, you know what? There have been other times in other playoff series where I felt like Harden just kind of checked out mentally. And that if you're still okay doing what he did at the end of the Houston run, where I still love that John Wall play as much as anything I've seen in modern basketball, where he threw the ball to John Wall behind him, and Wall was so annoyed he looked back at him like, "What the fuck are you doing in a game? You don't see that." And then if Harden does it again, like I don't know that I don't want to get on back. Hey, welcome back, Russillo. We was into Harden 7 minutes into the podcast. I guess I'll just always kind of have a philosophical opposition to somebody that's capable of doing that. Me signing off on like, you're a foxhole guy, and I trust you in big moments in the playoffs.
And that's the big issue with this Philly team. And that's why I'm not sending them to the finals yet, because between Harden's playoff history, Embiid's, checkered history to play for 8-9 straight months in a row, and especially the pounding that he's taking this season. He's been one of my favorite players to watch this league, but I just want to see it. I want to see him get through the regular season 4 rounds. And then the Doc Rivers piece. There's some guys who have never been in big playoff games before, like Maxey, Tybal, people like that. It was interesting that Harris, who's making over $30 million a year, is like a 4th option. It reminds me of those old Dallas teams from like the early 2000s where they would have like Jawan and Anton Walker come, basically as like role players. But if he's your 4th option, you're doing pretty well.